Developed and published by SFB Games, Crow Country released for the PS5, Xbox Series and Windows on the 9th of May 2024. SFB Games is a studio I'd heard very little about on the run-up to the game's release. So just to give you a little bit of background here, SFB is a two-man team, or more appropriately, a duo of brothers based right here in the best goddamn country on the planet. What, based in London? From titles like Snipperclips all the way back to making Flash games in the early aughts, the studio may be small, but is certainly experienced. Now, Crow Country caught my eye early on due to two things. Firstly, it looked like OG Final Fantasy VII, and secondly, it was an old school style survival horror.
Oh, beautiful.
Now, after playing the game through 3 separate times and earning myself a platinum trophy for my troubles, I'm finally ready to sit down and explain how Crow Country not only met my expectations, it blew them out of the water. Now let's dive in. (1990). Special Agent Mara Forrest is en route to Crow Country, a theme park named after the owner, Edward Crow. The park closed down following an incident 2 years ago. Reports of spooky goings-on have been raised but not taken seriously. Mara has questions, and only Edward Crow can answer them. Entering the abandoned theme park, Mara soon learns it's not as empty as it first appeared. The park patrons may have left, but a different kind of guest remains. If Mara wants the answers she seeks, she'll need to fight, run, and outthink whatever stands in her way. Told through file pickups, conversations with the wider cast, and a great deal of environmental storytelling, the plot throughout Crow Country is surprisingly its strongest feature. It's a story which gradually unfolds through several phone conversations and a load of files. Across this journey, it takes a few twists and turns, one you'll definitely see coming, and another that blew my tits off. Now, I'm keeping this spoiler free, so I'll just say it's eye-opening. A revelation that will flip everything you thought you knew, providing a commentary on the dangers of greed and the pursuit of wealth over the health of our planet itself. It worked so goddamn well, it's hard to fully convey just how jaw-dropping the payoff was. And it made subsequent playthroughs a delight, as with the added context you gain even more insight into what the messages told throughout the game mean. It's simply incredible. This story couldn't be told without a compelling cast of characters, and I'm glad to say that throughout the 5-ish hours on my first run, all of them are memorable, and without any voice acting at all, it relies on sharp witty writing to convey the personalities that underpin these characters. Now, while exploring areas, I love to investigate. I'm constantly interacting with things just to see if there's some hidden ammo or a new piece of lore, and it's here that the game is surprisingly funny. For a genre which takes itself pretty seriously 99% of the time, Crow Country leans into and pokes fun at these cliches. There's a charm here that never fails to raise a smile. A bit of levity is never too far away in Crow Country. Mostly, this is due to Mara's age, where the interaction between her and the older cast members is really brought to the forefront. It's a great choice, and one which carries a lot of the weight to make Crow Country feel unique amongst the booming indie survival horror scene. Now, I bet you're thinking, great, a bit of humor is nice, but doesn't that ruin the atmosphere? Well, no. You see, as you explore new areas, you'll come up against all sorts of twisted abominations in a variety of settings. Not knowing what's around that next corner, where this road leads and what you're stepping into, keeps you slow, alert, and Crow Country pays this off with a handful of jump scares which are sure to make you wish you'd worn your brown pants. It's common knowledge at this point that Crow Country is heavily influenced by Resident Evil and Silent Hill, and those influences are worn on Crow Country's sleeve. In terms of progression, it's classic Resident Evil style. You encounter roadblocks which require key items to move past. Through exploration and puzzle solving, you uncover these items, which then lead to more roadblocks and more solutions to earlier areas. By the midpoint of the game, you'll know the entire map intrinsically, as you've been moving all around it to solve its puzzles, doubling back for save points and secrets, of which 15 are scattered around the park, requiring key items and a heavy use of brain matter to crack. The reward for these can vary, from magnum rounds all the way up to new weapons and upgrades, and for me, the joy of ticking these off and solving its puzzles was a particular highlight. So if puzzles and progression are inspired by Resident Evil, where does Silent Hill fit into this? Well, mostly it's in the inventory management and enemy designs. Crow Country follows SH by having an inventory which is with you at all times. There's no item box here. The only limit you have is an upper cap on how much of each item you can stack. Due to this, you can use whichever tool you want to get the job done, from a pistol, shotgun, flamethrower, or a mighty magnum. The only thing you need to be conscious of is how much ammo you want to use to send these malformed mutants to meet their maker. All it takes is a few encounters where you get a bit trigger happy, and you can soon find yourself dry. Now for me, I found the game was a bit too keen on throwing resources my way. I never found myself even remotely getting close to running out of heals or ammo, and this certainly diluted the potential fear factor that pushing on through the environment could and should have delivered. The reason I had a mostly full inventory at all times is due to avoiding combat wherever possible. Now in most survival horror, choosing to leave enemies alive to conserve resources is a wise choice, which brings with it a big drawback, as areas are still populated with creatures which want nothing more than to end your life. The issue with Crow Country is that the enemies are completely useless. Now I played with tank controls throughout the entire thing, and I was easily able to bob and weave through all manner of creature combinations. If I had been on modern controls, I can't fathom how simple this would have been. SFB games must have been aware of this, and so to compensate, there's an ever-increasing amount of environmental hazards. From bear traps, little crows that spit poison gas, to my greatest adversary, the hanging spiky chandelier thing. These traps are much more effective at causing damage than the enemies themselves, and I found myself having to sit up and pay attention to my surroundings as I zipped around the enemies, which, to be honest, were nothing more than set dressing. Avoiding combat isn't just an advantage for conserving ammo, it's actually a benefit to the player's enjoyment level. Combat is by far the weakest part of Crow Country. By holding the trigger button, you'll plant yourself in place, a cursor will appear, which you then line up using a laser sight, if you have one. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. Finding a target is janky as hell. It's a total crapshoot on what you're going to hit and where you're actually aiming. It's a godsend the game throws so much ammo your way, as if you choose to actually use it, 99% is going to go away from the target. Enemies, being as useless as they are, means that you're effectively mercy killing them rather than engaging in a battle. There's no sense of accomplishment in their defeat, as their ineptitude made it inevitable. Fortunately, the combat is a tiny portion of the gameplay, with the vast majority of it being used to solve puzzles, and these are for the most part really enjoyable. They swing the gambit, with some being painfully obvious, to others which require a notepad and a pen and a good few minutes of your time to figure out. Now if you've played survival horror games before, you'll have the necessary knowledge to figure out where to go, what to solve, and how to proceed without any aid. But what I appreciate here is that throughout your journey, the game offers a hint station. you have 10 credits to use in here if you need it, which will be more than enough to tell you where you need to go next or where you can find that next elusive item. It's a fantastic addition that's there for those who are new to the genre, or to stop any potential annoyance of not knowing what you have to do next. It will affect your in-game score though, so if you're trying to get an S rank on your first run, you'll want to stay clear. Speaking of scores, it's here that the game offers replayability. Depending on which score you achieve, you'll get some awesome tools to take in a subsequent run, from a bat to smash boxes to a grenade launcher with unlimited ammo. Now after doing 3 runs, I can 100% see the speedrunning community adopting Crow Country. Survival horror titles in general are great for speedrunning, and Crow Country fits the mold to a T. It's all about figuring out the best path, how to get the speed shoes quickest, and achieving an S rank, which requires less than 10 heals and all secrets. And for me, I found so much fun in blasting through it when I got a spare hour or so. I can't wait to see how the pros get it done. The final thing I want to mention here is the music and art style. Taking things retro offers SFB games the ability to not only flood you with nostalgia, it also means Crow Country can carve its own identity. Looking like a mix of Duplo and Final Fantasy VII, Crow Country's art style is captivatingly beautiful. It's unique, evoking what came before, but feeling like a breath of fresh air. As a small team, you can't expect top-shelf graphics, and to be honest, it doesn't need them. I'll take originality over the top level of UE5 any goddamn day of the week. These graphics are put to good use to create areas which all have distinctive traits. From the underwater sea area to a haunted wood, they are areas you'd expect to see at a theme park, but they don't feel cookie cutter. I loved exploring each and every locale, right down to the tight corridors under the park itself. These areas are made to feel unique thanks in part to an exceptional score. Ockeroid absolutely nailed it. I can't stress enough how effective it is to have a unique theme for each area. It's something survival horror games used to do, but slowly they moved away from this practice, instead relying on ambient noise, and god damn, I've missed it. The OST evokes everything you need in a video game. A sense of relief as you unwind at the save room. Joy, sorrow, and uneasiness are all created when the game needs them to. This OST is backed up by charming bleeps and bloops for character dialogue. And the menu sound is top tier stuff. And with that, I think it's time for a summary. Crow Country set out to be a retro survival horror title. Taking inspiration from the likes of Silent Hill and Resident Evil is one thing, but using these influences to create something unique, one which can act as a gateway for new players to the survival horror genre and offer experienced players an engaging experience thanks to its puzzles and narrative, is a bigger task to accomplish, and it's one that SFB Games knocked out of the park. Now, while its combat and resource management hold it back, I look forward to seeing what lessons the brothers take from this experience to make their next foray into survival horror even better. If it's not clear from this review, I adored Crow Country. If you've got 5 or so hours spare, it would be a crime to overlook this. It's a game whose narrative alone will sit with me for years to come. It's a joyous experience from start to end. SFB Games, take a bow. And that's it for this review. If you've enjoyed it, put a like on it and subscribe to the channel for more survival horror content. Up next, I'll be continuing with my review of the Silent Hill series with Silent Hill 2. I look forward to seeing you back here soon. Have you played Crow Country? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comment section and we can discuss it. Thanks for your time. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See ya.